Welcome to the Medical Device Made Easy podcast. Here is Munir Lazouzi from easymedicaldevice.com, and today we will talk about software as medical device. I've told you before, we have a lot of topics about software as medical device, and this time we'll talk about Agile, from Waterfall to Agile, but mainly Agile methodology for development of software. And for that, I have with me a company called Iron Rooster, and I have with me Attila and Bence from Iron Rooster that will help us. So Attila, Bence, welcome to the Medical Device Made Easy podcast.
Hi, Mani. Thanks for having us.
Great.
Hi.
So Attila, Bence, can we have a small introduction of yourself, so to have a better understanding of who you are, what you are doing exactly, and then we can move forward to the topics.
For sure. You can see our names on the screen. So I'm Attila. This is Bence. I have been with Iron Rooster for, more than 12 years now.
Okay.
And I have climbed pretty much every step of the ladder, from manual tester to the current position of head of quality and regulatory affairs. Along the way, I was lucky enough to touch everything from leading testing teams, project management, requirement engineering. And I do take great pride in leading a team of 5, now 6 people from the regulatory field. And we do our best to serve our customers in maintaining, creating, and optimizing their quality management systems as clients.
Great. And you, Bence? Bence, yeah. Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm mixing Attila. Yeah, and you, Bence?
Yeah, I'm with Iron Rooster for 2 years now, and actually I started as a technical writer, but quickly I learned that, well, the project management field is something I would like to learn into. I would like to work in. So I started my journey, and through continuously nagging my mentor here, Attila, with all my questions about this field. Thank you very much for answering all those and keeping yourself calm. So through continuously learning, I developed into a project manager, and currently I'm working on medical devices, a couple of products. Well, actually, we have a lot of products in the medical device field. We are working with blood banking softwares, from collecting information through having the laboratories doing the necessary tests on the blood samples. We cover everything with our softwares.
Great. No, great. Apparently, yeah, there is a great development and knowledge on the team, which is really great. And as we said, so mainly the idea of today is to talk about certain development methodology. We have already talked about Agile in a previous podcast, but here we'll specifically look at that for software, because mainly we have some companies that are now moving to software. We have also a lot, it's still a small portion in comparison to the rest of the medical devices. We have a lot now of development that are ongoing for software as medical device, because it's a thing that is now booming with artificial intelligence and everything. So yeah, so the development of a software, I think, is really a key element that the companies have to understand and have to optimize as much as possible so that they can get a good software. But on the title, as we said, we will talk about Agile. Again, for people maybe that are coming and say, what is mainly Agile? What are we talking about? So can we have a small, maybe for a 5 years old person, for a 5 years old child, what is Agile? What can we understand from Agile, and how we will need to use that mainly?
Well, basically Agile is meant to answer the meant to be an answer to the issues created by the quick change of the IT field and the constantly changing requirements on the IT field. Before that, the waterfall methodology was created as a step-by-step procedure, and looked to the procedures as a constantly as a process that we go through step by step.
Exactly.
But this kind of methodology cannot implement the changes that will surely come during developing a software. So this is why Agile was born and Agile was created. And basically it's kind of a waterfall in smaller chunks. So what Agile is doing is letting companies implement the necessary changes in the processes according to the changing requirements.
So so mainly when we talk about agile, what you've said, mainly what we have to understand is that when you have a physical product, coming back and making changes is a bit difficult because it's a physical product. But when you have a software, it's like maybe changing a small piece of code, coming back and testing, verifying that everything is fine and moving forward, etc. And you can again change and move forward. So I suppose this is a methodology, as you said, a small chunk of waterfall for agile is just to make it more agile, as they are talking about, to make it more easy to change, if I can say, all this. And it's good that you talk about waterfall because mainly this is also something a lot of people are understanding now, waterfall. So is this mainly, I mean, when you talk about agile, do you think agile is specifically for software or it can also work for hardware also? Or?
Actually, it can work for anything. So you can build homes in Agile if you want. It's important to say that even that Agile is everything can be worked in as Agile, but not everything must be worked in Agile.
Exactly. Okay. And from you, Attila?
Sorry, I just realized that if you set the hardware word in parallel with the software word, obvious differences will emerge. There are certain industries where agile is just not an option. You cannot build a house in weekly portions without planning ahead where your appliances go, where your pipes go, those sort of things. But software development and especially the medical software development is a bit of a funny area because the industry itself, the IT world, is changing at a scary pace, but the users of medical devices, hospitals and health centers are not always the most well-funded places. So they are sort of forced into a situation where outdated equipment needs to be operated using the latest technologies provided by software and algorithms and all those things you hear about. But back in the day when waterfall was the fashionable method, our end users, as I look back 10, 50 years, were not as quick as taking up the pace of changes because they also had to go through their own validations. They had to do beta testing. They had to do training. So their goal was to make these overhead-like activities as rare and as quick as possible. So if you have a release every second week, that can have an unwanted effect at the client side. So that's another aspect that needs to be taken into consideration when you are doing agile or trying to figure out your development process. What are the needs of your customers? Plus, what is the best, most effective, most safe way to create your product? There's a balance which must be found.
So is there, when we talk about agile, are we talking about certain type of systems that are used to create agile processes, or is it something like there is one way to do it, or there is many ways to do it, or how do you think about that?
Actually, there are like 100 ways to do that. So Agile is a methodology, and there are a couple of frameworks you can use. And in the medical device field, I know that they use extreme programming, for example. They use the Agile V model to. They actually have it's a registered trademark, MedSpice. It's called
Okay.
MDEF Spice. Yeah, that's the word. It's a registered trademark. It's a framework that you can use to manage your processes in software development for medical device.
Okay.
So there are a couple of examples that you can use.
Exactly. And for example, as we said, we have now a lot of development for software as medical devices, but we have, as I mentioned before, a big chunk of companies that are still in the hardware part, and they are starting to move also to the software as medical devices. I have a lot of companies that are, for example, having some pumps for medical pumps or whatever, and they are now starting to build some mobile applications to verify control or whatever of the pump, etc. So they are also trying to move to this trend to have an application for mobiles, etc. So what is the main difference here now for those companies when they will be starting to move to this? What are the, if I can say, the kind of advice you can tell them that, or your advantage or disadvantage for them to be like a company from hardware and move to then software?
A broad area. I mean, we are living in a world where you may not be able to turn on your lights because the light bulb is doing a firmware update. So there is no way getting around software, that's for sure. And the key point is making sure that you classify your software based on the risks it brings to your processes, your clients, or your target audience. So well, we have in the past, we have seen them both ways, whether it's a hardware company moving into the world of software because they want to bundle their product with systems supporting the use of those products, or we have seen companies moving from the non-medical fields into medical fields simply because of the reason that the health industry is booming. It's a steady industry. People are always going to be sick or trying to remain as healthy as possible. So there is no losing out if you come into this world. But the regulations are first and foremost are a factor that is far more strict in this area, because the most valuable bit of our life is our life. That needs to be protected through traceability, safe processes, safe manufacturing processes, and as well as products. And some of those industries need to be prepared for the added scrutiny. If you are coming from the hardware side, there are various obvious medical device specific activities and aspects that do not apply, like sterilization or shipment or logistics or scrap materials, those sort of things. But there are just as many new things to become familiar with. There is a heightened dependence on cybersecurity, data management systems. But on the flip side, your manufacturing processes and setting up your manufacturing environment becomes a whole lot easier, because you don't have to have your factories, you don't have to have your production lines. You can just sit down with a laptop that you buy in your nearest shop, and you have your manufacturing plant ready to go.
Exactly. I mean, there are also a lot of things that were difficult. I mean, I have helped companies moving, working on the medical device field as software as medical device. And for example, we have procedures to have an infrastructure. So they are always think, oh, I have no machine, etc. But I say, do you have a server? Do you have your computers? Do you have an environment? So there is a lot of things that we have to use common sense also and flip, if I can say, on our head to say, yeah, we are not talking here about, as you said, your CNC machine normally for milling things is now your computer, for example. So it's mainly the thing that people have to understand, and what are the specifications for using your software and all this, and mainly this is things that have to be discussed. And also, for example, if you are using a external supplier for like AWS or for storing your data or this kind of thing. So all this has to be also taken into account. And this is things that maybe can be also a big change in the head of those hardware companies. They are moving really also to software. Any other thing here on the difference, maybe from your side, Bence?
Well, there are a couple of differences, couple of issues you need to solve if you are moving to the software field. But what I would highlight is what Attila already mentioned. The regulations for medical softwares are kind of outdated and kind of hardware based, and it's because in the old times when people lived in caves, medical devices were hardware and software was not there. But now software is there, as Attila mentioned. If you trying to make some light in the room, maybe if it won't turn off because of the firmware update. Well, in the software industry, this outdated regulations, it's actually fully okay, because the main reason for this is that the key is safety, and we are talking about human lives. So this is why regulations change so slow, because it's meant to protect human lives. And in the software industry, this could cause a lot of headaches. I mean, your software and the software you are building and the requirements that your software needs to apply to is more developed, so to say, than the regulations. So sometimes you need to use your common sense and use a lot of justifications to provide the necessary evidence for the regulatory companies like FDA, that your software is actually okay to use in a medical field.
Exactly. And so as we said, so we can compare also now what is happening also on the for example the car industry, where we move from electrical thermic engine to electrical engine. So we have like those big companies that were good for thermic engine have now to rethink everything on that. So do you see other challenges for those companies that are transitioning, something maybe in terms of skills of people or mindset or this kind of thing?
Most certainly. Our company is, 20 years old this year. So we have been around for quite a long time. We have seen the beginning of the medical industry booming in the software world. And, coming from Waterfall to Agile, we did go through that process ourselves. And one of the biggest challenges was making sure that our people understand the change in roles, responsibilities, team structure, reporting cues, and mindset that comes with this change. The biggest challenges was not to make sure that our clients who rely on us from the IT knowledge aspect can be convinced that going with the changes of the world, we will be able to provide with them with better services, faster response time, higher quality, fewer changes or more responsiveness to changes. But it was trying to make sure that our teams use the new resources available through these methodologies. Back in the day, you had to plan everything ahead, sometimes for years, and get those plans reviewed and approved, then create your designs, then the actual coding could start based on those designs, and none of these past phases could have been updated, because it would have meant a serious replanning and restart. Nowadays, with the shortened development phases, sometimes went down to months, even weeks, it's a much more rapid process.
Hey, just a second. Do you need a EU, Swiss or UK representative? Then choose Easy Medical Device. We can represent you and also become your importer. Contact us at eo@easymedicaldevice.com. Exactly, yeah. As you talked about resources and everything, so if I want tomorrow to start, first, is there a lot of investment to do to move to this field? Is there a lot of investment of people? So, for example, what kind of person I should have on the team to help on this? As you said, you were climbing, if I can say, the ladder, so you had a lot of maybe experience. So, is it easy also to really move by itself, or it's maybe better also to use some external companies to help you to move on that field? So what are the resources, what are the maybe the training also available for companies to really do this exercise here?
It's very easy. You can hire us.
Great.
But if you want to go a different route, you have to make sure that your team is set up of people with a wide range of skills, starting from IT, from infrastructure, from software development, project management, technical support. You need your quality and regulatory people, and just as important, not always a built-in team member, but in the form of consultants or external support, you definitely need people who know the industry. That's the team structure, roles and responsibilities side, but there is always other resources.
Yeah, well, actually, what I wanted to say, because we are talking about Agile and Agile in the medical device field, what we surely need to understand is that Agile does not mean I can do anything I want, anytime I want, with no documentation at all. This is just pure chaos. This is not Agile, not even close. And well, it leads to not that quality software. And in the medical field, you cannot do that. And what I would highlight as an additional team member when starting a software project in the medical device field would be a consultant from the auditor side of things. And by that, I mean that as a company, you should just sit down with these people and discuss the whole regulatory requirement list, so to say, thoroughly. And this will take probably weeks, if not months, but take your time. So you need to understand why these requirements are there. Each and every requirement from the FDA has a reason to be there. And if you understand the reason, you can map your agile processes to these requirements. And this will make your journey in this magical field a lot more easier.
Okay, and if for example I have some people on my team that maybe want to move to this field in terms of also training, so is there some specific training that exists, or like a reputed training for moving on that direction or something? If you see a CV with this kind of certification or training or things, it's like, oh, this guy should know what he's talking about.
It's hard to give an exact example without turning this into advertising for other companies, but the biggest problem is that it's pretty much a case-by-case situation. You have to be aware of your starting resources, depending on the maturity of your team, their previous experience, the complexity of your product, your clients' limitations or requirements. You have to decide for yourself whether the best route is to go down the way of watching a bunch of YouTube videos for free, or apply for some dedicated education tool like Pluralsight or other examples. Or maybe it's best to identify some local or maybe internationally available dedicated training company who are snipers of the area you are interested to learn. And the same goes for tools, software equipment as well, right?
Yeah, but keep in mind that you need training and I don't know, a learning pattern or something
experience,
like that.
Yeah, some experience also.
Yeah, what I want to say is that you need that especially for your case, because there are a couple of guidelines, case studies and everything in how to develop a software in medical field. Yeah, there are, but when I read those, my question was always that, okay, how does this apply to my situation? what should I do in my situation? So what you need to know is what your company do. So if you are working in Scrum, do not turn into, I don't know, the AV model or anything like that. Do medical device development in Scrum, but do these trainings that Attila mentioned, do the investigation and everything about this field, and after that turn every knowledge piece to your exact situation.
And we hear a lot about this thing like Scrum, Kanban. What is that exactly? Is it a type of agile methodology, or what is this exactly?
These are frameworks. So, for example, Scrum is a framework. It provides you a couple of how to say tools to manage your project, and it has a strict rule set, so to say. And it's kind of funny that Agile meant to be so flexible. Yeah, Agile meant to be so flexible, and yet a Scrum framework, which is Agile methodology, it has strict rules, and if you do not apply to these rules, your processes will probably be not that great, and your and the quality of the software will be the at the bad end of this.
Yeah, I think yeah, you're right. Sometimes people like flexibility because it helps them move forward, but some people or some companies say no, we need to have strict rules, otherwise everybody will go in different directions, etc. So then it's also this kind of thing that is important to understand. Also, yeah, there are some agile methodology that are really strict also, so it's something important there. Anything else for in terms of resources or tools, maybe?
Well, there is no cheat sheet, like I hope we've proved, but there are free online tools that can get you off the starting block. You can hardly go wrong with the big players. I mean, if you reach out to Atlassian or AWS and start investing, understanding how they work, what they do, that is going to give you a very strong and solid background. They have all the tools that has been used and tested for decades, and they have the knowledge, the regulatory support to help your infrastructure to be built up as fast as possible, but they can be pricey. So know your resources, know your limitations, know your audience, and you will sure, if not find the perfect solution for the first time, but make sure that you are ready to fail. Make sure you fail early, so it is going to be the least amount of pain to go through the first few bad choices and identify the perfect one.
Yeah, and one more thing to mention as in this topic, that maybe this advertisement can be here. I mean, FDA published a guideline to agile software development. Anybody can buy it from FDA actually, and it's a great start for creating an agile process, creating your agile processes in this field.
Exactly, and yeah, as we said, so there is a possibility for those companies to create their processes by themselves, having their people, etc. But there are also mainly the possibility to hire directly companies that have already this knowledge and that can accelerate this transition. And I think IronRooster is one of those. So can you tell us more about IronRooster and how you can help the audience, maybe if they are needing some support here?
Yes, that's what we heard as well. Luckily, I had the chance to see it firsthand, so it is true. Our company has been around for 20 years, and during that time, we did touch an awful lot of clients in an awful lot of parts of the world, because software, as we've mentioned earlier, is not a localized industry. But we ended up focusing in the software as a medical device sub-industry, and we are aiming mainly for the US market. And there we do outsourcing activities as well as consultancy. And our structure allows us to market these skills as a package or separately as focusing on project management aspects, trying to help companies with their testing needs, or giving advice on quality and regulatory activities, as much as providing technical support activities for people who need those. So I believe there is a wide range of services that can be harnessed if you need a skill set of our team members.
Well, what I would like to add from the research and development side.
Oh yeah, there are those people too.
We have a wide range of technical skill set, and by that I mean we have from C programming languages to Java. We cover everything, and also our developers, since the company is working in medical device field for 20 years, we have highly experienced developers who are not just great in developing software, they are really great in seeing the business logic behind it for a medical device. Okay. So that's important, that you are not only looking at the code, you are looking at a system, and that system provides a medical sort of device. Yeah, that's the good word for that.
No problem.
Device. Yeah.
So mainly, if people have a need for support in terms of creation of software or helping in terms of the development and also the submission, if I can say, of those software, I mean, I suppose IronRooster is the right company to contact there. So where can they follow up with you? What is your website, maybe for people to hear that and maybe to go directly on their browser to look at it?
Most of the contact information is going to be available together with the link to this podcast, but to make sure that IronRooster.io is in the memory of people, let's say that twice, IronRooster.io.
Okay.
That is a landing page where you will see what sort of services we provide, a little introduction of the company history, and our most prolific team members as well.
Just maybe a question, another question. So Iron Rooster, why do you know why this name? Do you know if there is a story behind, or if there is something that people can remind also?
It is a local story, actually. Here in Győr, we are a Hungary-based company.
Okay.
And our CEO is from the States. That's how we managed to be productive on both sides of the big pond. And one of the local stories is about a rooster who is standing up on one of the highest points of the city. Okay. And as history goes, during the old days when I think it was the Turkish who were about to invade us, and help me out, Bence, Iron Rooster scared them away?
No, the story goes like the Iron Rooster had to scream and in the morning, so they will start to attack. I don't even know. It's it's a kind of historical story, and actually I heard like 3 different versions from that.
It is definitely closer to a fairy tale.
It's a legend, yeah.
But it's great to know that, because I heard this name the first time. I said, why they choose this name? It has nothing to do with software, with the development things. So great to hear the legend.
There is a hidden agenda, I'm afraid. Our company name, original company name, is something that's very hard to pronounce for English-speaking people. So a few years ago, when we decided to focus more on the American market, we decided to come up with a brand that's easily recognizable as well as pronounceable.
Okay, no, it's great. I mean, great strategy, so good. So anyway, I will place all the information on the show notes. So if you want to go and see the LinkedIn pages of Iron Rooster, or also of Attila and Bence, so you can go there. We'll place also the website and everything. So don't hesitate to contact also Iron Rooster if there is any questions, or on this episode mainly, or if you need any support for the development of your software in the future. Okay, so Attila, Bence, it was really a pleasure to have you, and I really thank you for all the information you provided.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Hopefully, see you soon.
See you
Thank
soon.
you very
Thank
much.
you.
See you soon.